Good afternoon, I'm Gary Owen. We're stood here at the City of Manchester Stadium on a beautiful spring afternoon, and we're just going to knock a few questions over to Mike Summerbee, our legend and ambassador. Before we start the questions, you're going to Poland anniversary, 40th year?
It's the 40th anniversary since we played Górnik in Katowice, so, and also us winning the final in the UEFA Cup in Vienna. So they've invited us over for a banquet and just to reminisce, and I'm taking Mr. Book with us, Tony Book, our president of the football club. Also, we're going back to reminisce. Hopefully there'll be one or two sites that we might come across.
I think those sites may have changed a little since you were there, Mike, but I know exactly. But Mike, just going back from your time when you first came to Manchester City in the 60s, 35 grand for what turned out to be an England international, an ambassador of Manchester City. Did you think, first of all, when you first came to this football club, the prominence of how the club is now in 40 years?
Well, the change has been unbelievable, as you know. When I first came, I mean, people talk about players coming to football clubs if they're in the Champions League. I came to Manchester City when we were in the second division, and I came here, and it was there was no going back. As you know, I've spoken to you many times about it. There was no going back because, I mean, I knew I was coming to a club, a special club with an opportunity with Joe Mercer and Malcolm Armstrong, and it took off from there. And I was very lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And as you can see now, I mean, who could ever think that I'd end up being an ambassador to the wealthiest club in the world? But the thing about it is a great club as well, and as you know, we all talk about it, in a progressive situation where we're making progress all the time.
Okay, my next question, you've probably just covered it, but if you had to name one thing, and we've already discussed about the pitch here, I mean, it's going to be one of the best, well, it's being voted one of the best three pitches in the Premier League, right. And it's going to go to a decision and we may well become the best pitch in the Premier League.
I think it's between us and Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Liverpool are slung in as well.
Are they?
But the pitches, apart from the pitches and the money, obviously, what do you miss most since you hung your boots up?
Well, I think it's the camaraderie of all, you know, of being with the lads in the changing room. You know, when you're successful, you spend more time with the players and individual people you sleep with, like Bookie I slept with. We all roomed together.
Do you want to rephrase that?
No, yes.
You roomed with?
I roomed with Bookie, but you know, I slept more with Bookie than I did with my missus in those days.
I bet Tina was delighted.
The thing I miss most of all is that camaraderie of the players, and when you meet up with them again and you see them, and you can immediately go back to that situation. You know that very well. And you know, we had a very special thing in that particular time. All the players that particular era, everybody knew each other. We all got on well, whether you played United, Liverpool, whatever. You know, we had just a great relationship. You know, I don't know whether it's the same today because of the foreign players are here today, but I miss the changing room banter, a bit of fun, going away weekends, and we had a great time with Malcolm Armstrong and Joe Mercer. And we were successful as well, which is important. Okay, and the modern game, do you think it's lost a little bit of its soul? Because today's footballers are yesterday's pop stars. Everybody wants to be associated with football now as used to want to be with pop stars. Do you think it's lost a little bit of its soul, the modern game? It's difficult to answer that at all. You know, it might have done, I don't know. I'm not a very good judge on that. It's a good question, but I'm not a very good judge of that. You know, all I know is that when I meet some of the players and I go to the training ground and I travel with them when we go away, they're all very, very nice lads. They all say that the camaraderie is there, you know, in that particular time, and they don't sort of bypass me at all. They have a great respect for me, you know, and they treat me very, very well. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it has. You only talk about it when you talk about the money they get and the transfer fees, whatever, you know. But you know, there are lots of nice players, good lads, and you know, you meet as you go along the line that you know, have been probably bought for 25 million or 10 million, whatever. So, you know, as I said before, good luck to him. I don't think the hearts or the soul's gone out of the game at all. I think we're talking on a totally different game of football to what we played in. You know, it's a totally different thing. You know, as I said to you before, it was more of a physical game. We played on very, very difficult pitches, which wasn't difficult for us. You know, as when you walked out there and there was no stud marks on it, that was a great pitch. And then when you walked on it and you sank down for 3 inches, you knew you were in a difficult pitch. But you know, and I have to laugh when I listen to the commentary on Sky sometimes, the commentators say when it's been raining, they say, what some difficult conditions it is today. Because the pitch is greasy, that's all. I mean, that's difficult, is it? That was an added attribute to us. And when it was wet on top, you could take people on and have a go at them.
I can remember when we went to Derby, when we went to the league in '77, and when you said 3 inches deep, it was 3 foot deep. It was knee deep come the middle of the pitch. But Mike, you came to Manchester, you met the lovely Tina, you got married, and Nicky was born.
Yeah. Did
you encourage him from a small age? 'Cause I remember coming round to your house on cup final days when we weren't involved and having a bit of a, well, let's say socialising afternoon, and a bit of football when Nicky was only a young boy. Did you encourage him to become a footballer?
Not really, no. It was, my father played, so my uncle played, my father's brother played. So really, it was in the blood, and he didn't find it difficult. He went to Swindon, where Cecil Green was still there, who got me in the game, and it went from there. I think he did find it difficult because they always try and compare, Nicholas is a different type of player to me. I thought he was one of the best crosses of a ball you could see. If you go to Sunderland now, they'll tell you exactly the same. He's like they idolised him there because there was Johnson on the left, Nick on the right, and Malcolm in the middle. And so his best football was there. But I never encouraged him to play football. I kept out of the way of it. George, who did my garden, who helped him with the garden on the Saturdays, he was supposed to do the garden. He took him to training. He took him down to football on Saturday football, and had a great time. So really, the person that got him into football was probably George.
What do you do most as your role as an ambassador? What do you do mostly on a day-to-day involvement with the football club and your role as an ambassador?
Well, as I know, I have a luncheon club as well, and I've organised the golfing days, and now also meet and greet people. Our chairman comes from Abu Dhabi, and he brings guests with him. On match days, I look after the guests, while our chairman goes into meetings with our chief executive. So really, and I go to games. I'm really, to be honest, I've been really well treated and looked after superbly by the club. I do whatever people want me to do.
How important is that 4th spot for the progression of Manchester City, in particular this year?
Well, originally it was a top 6, but then also what we have to look at is that it's not a quick fix job. It's a job that's going to happen over a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I think expectations have got a bit high, and which is understandable in the fact that we are in the position to finish 4th. If we don't finish 4th, we'll be 5th, so we'll still be in the UEFA Cup. But at the end of the day, I think we've had a great season, to be honest. I think we worked very, very hard. I think that we've got a chance of finishing in the top 4. I think we will finish in the top 4, because I think we'll face up to these games. I think we were unlucky in the end against Manchester United in the last 15 seconds of the game, but that's football. But I just keep my fingers crossed, and as you do as well, that we can finish in the top 4, and if we do, then we can go from there, that situation. But if we don't, I think we've still had a good season, and I think that people have seen this football club, seen the progress of what's happening, and I think if additional players are needed to come here, I'm sure who would not like to come here.
Thank Michael Summerbee, our legend and ambassador. It's always a pleasure. He's been looking after me since I was 14 years of age. He's still looking after me to this day.
Have I done a good job?
Let me tell you, you've put a lot of people in a lot of trouble by giving me this sort of education. But for me, Gary Owen, and for Michael Summerbee, your ambassador, please enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you.